Mike Tyson just brutally ruined Jake Paul after releasing new fight rules, and let me tell you, they're basically designed to make Jake Paul weep. It all started because Mike Perry, Jake's latest opponent, called him out for using steroids. And Tyson? Oh, he was not having any of that. I mean, if Jake doesn't think he's fit enough, why on earth did he challenge Tyson? Did he seriously believe that with just 4 years of boxing under his belt, he could take down the baddest man on the planet? The guy doesn't even get that Mike's been throwing punches longer than Jake's been alive. And if I tell you that Mike Perry has a big hand in this mess, you better believe it with your eyes shut, because it all went down after Perry exposed Jake. From day one, it was flipped on its head when Jake Paul, our favorite social media diva turned boxer. Jake Paul's fight with Mike Perry was seriously anything but smooth sailing. Perry put on a great show, but Jake's win by TKO, rather than a KO, raised a lot of eyebrows. A TKO happens when the ref says, nope, you can't go on, while a KO is when someone gets knocked out cold, no questions asked. In boxing, a KO is like the ultimate mic drop, the final word. But Jake's TKO win has people talking. Some are even whispering about the ref being on the take, hinting at possible corruption. And this isn't the first time Jake's TKO victories have looked a bit fishy. People are starting to think that maybe, just maybe, Jake's getting a little extra help in the ring. Well, no doubt about it, Jake Paul's got a big mouth. Sure, he beat Mike Perry in the ring, but then he had to go and humiliate him afterward, making Perry feel like he'd lost the match of his life. Seriously, why do guys like Jake forget that boxing is a sport where one wins and one loses?
I told you that was going to happen. You know, I told you exactly what was going to happen. He was big upping his boy Mike Perry. I said, okay, Connor, like after I Mike Perry, then you're next.
It's not about hate, it's just a match and you're supposed to respect your opponent. But Jake? Nah, he can't seem to get that through his thick skull. Don't worry though. We've got Mike Tyson on the case. Just the mention of his name sends chills down the spines of boxing fans everywhere. And I'll spill the details later on how he gave Jake a brutal lesson he won't forget. On July 21st, 2024, just a day after Jake's controversial win over Perry, Tyson took to social media to express his utter disgust. Paul, with his usual loudmouth antics, had belittled Perry post-fight, totally undermining the effort and skill Perry brought to the ring.
He was just changing everything every round. There was no like repetitive patterns. He wasn't falling into the same thing. He just wild and throwing, and all of a sudden you back up, and then he's leaning back, then he's swinging from up here. So I just had to use my jab a lot.
Tyson, a man who stands for respect and honor in boxing, was not having any of it. In a tweet that went viral, Tyson said, "Boxing is about respect and discipline. What Jake Paul did to Mike Perry is unacceptable. This sport deserves better." Tyson wasn't going to let the sport he loves get dragged through the mud by Paul's antics. Fans worldwide backed Tyson, flooding social media with likes, retweets, and supportive comments. And after that, when the news broke that Jake Paul was challenging Mike Tyson, reactions were all over the place. On one side, you had people buzzing with excitement. I mean, who wouldn't want to see a young, cocky internet star go toe-to-toe with a boxing legend? It's like a real-life David versus Goliath, and it promises high drama and intense action. Fans of both fighters are itching to see how Jake's unconventional style holds up against Tyson's brutal, no-nonsense approach. But then there's the other side, the skeptics. They're all wondering if Jake's bitten off more than he can chew. Tyson might be older now, but he's still a beast in the ring. His legacy is built on pure ferocity and unmatched skill, stuff Jake, with his limited experience, might struggle to handle. The contrast between Jake's flashy, headline-grabbing antics and Tyson's feared and respected presence just adds another layer to this already spicy matchup. So here we are, setting the stage for a colossal showdown. On one end, you have Jake Paul, the loudmouth with a knack for stirring the pot and a career built as much on controversy as on actual boxing. His rise from YouTube stardom to professional boxing has been a roller coaster of provocations and fights that, while he won, left a lot of people doubting his legitimacy. On the other end, you've got Mike Tyson, the embodiment of boxing greatness. Known for his devastating knockouts and fearsome aura, Tyson's career is a monument to raw power and relentless determination. Even people who don't follow boxing know Tyson's name and the dominance it signifies. Tyson's career is the stuff of legends, because Tyson's rise from a troubled youth to the youngest heavyweight champ in history is awe-inspiring. He knocked out Trevor Berbick in the second round on November 22, 1986, to win the WBC heavyweight title at just 20 years old. Iron Mike became famous for his ferocity and skill, leaving a mark on boxing that's still talked about today. Despite his own personal struggles, Tyson's respect for the sport has never wavered. He's always been about discipline and honor, and his disdain for arrogance and disrespect is well known. So, When Jake Paul acted like a jerk, Tyson's reaction was entirely in line with his principles. The boxing community is rallying behind Tyson. Big names like Lennox Lewis, George Foreman, and Evander Holyfield have voiced their support. Lennox Lewis tweeted, "Mike is right. Boxing is built on respect. Jake Paul needs to learn that." Even current fighters are chiming in. Canelo Alvarez said in a press conference, "Mike Tyson is a legend, and he's right to call out Jake Paul. We need to protect the dignity of our sport." With all this support, the pressure on Paul is mounting. The media is all over this story. Sports networks, boxing sites, and even mainstream news outlets are dedicating tons of coverage to the Tyson-Paul saga. ESPN's First Take spent a whole segment debating the implications of this matchup. Stephen A. Smith said, "This is exactly what boxing needs right now. A fight that brings excitement and a reminder of what the sport is truly about." Max Kellerman added, "Jake Paul has been good for bringing attention to boxing, but he needs to understand that respect is earned in this ring." So, as we know, the boxing world was totally floored when Mike Tyson dropped a bombshell on July 25, 2024. The legend himself announced a set of brand new rules specifically designed for his upcoming bout with Jake Paul. This move was like a lightning bolt, sending shockwaves through the sports community and sparking all kinds of debates and anticipation. Tyson's announcement wasn't just a spur-of-the-moment thing. There had been months of speculation and buildup. Initially, the idea of a Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson match seemed like a wild fantasy, mostly living in Jake Paul's head. The guy's Bexon running his mouth, talking about how facing Tyson would be the ultimate way to cement his place in boxing history. But Tyson? He kept his cards close to his chest, leaving everyone guessing if this fight would ever actually happen. Jake Paul's relentless call-outs and his non-stop campaign to get Tyson in the ring finally paid off, but with a twist. Paul made a bold declaration that he'd fight Tyson under any conditions. Basically, he threw down the gauntlet, thinking this would force Tyson to agree. But Tyson, always the savvy strategist, saw this as his chance to set the stage. So Tyson said yes, but with his own set of rules. This wasn't just a simple, "let's do this" agreement. No, Tyson laid down the law, and Paul, in his eagerness to secure the fight, agreed without fully grasping what he was signing up for. And Tyson unveils these new rules, catching everyone off guard and completely changing the game. The specifics of Tyson's rules weren't immediately disclosed, but it was clear that he was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. He was ensuring that this fight would be a true test of skill, endurance, and respect for the sport. Meanwhile, Jake Paul, never one to shy away from the spotlight, put on his bravado mask. He posted on Instagram, "Bring it on, Tyson. I'm ready for anything." Classic Jake, trying to project fearlessness. But insiders hinted that Paul was a bit rattled by the new rules. The sudden change had him on edge, and there was a lot of speculation about how he'd handle this curveball. Paul's camp was super secretive about their strategy, but you could feel the tension. But then Paul and his trainers practically had mini heart attacks when they heard about the new rules. The first one was the introduction of 8-ounce gloves for the fight. This is a huge departure from the usual 10-ounce gloves that fighters in the heavier weight classes use. Those bigger gloves offer more padding, theoretically protecting both the fighter's hands and their opponent's faces. But with 8-ounce gloves, that's a whole different ballgame, making the fight way more intense and brutal. Well, smaller gloves mean less padding, which translates to more force being transferred with each punch. This amps up the impact of every blow, increasing the risk of cuts, bruises, and other injuries. For someone like Tyson, who's known for his knockout power, this is a strategic move to play to his strengths. Tyson's punches, already legendary for their power, will be even more devastating with the reduced padding, potentially leading to quicker, more decisive outcomes in the ring. Take the legendary bout between Marvin Hagler and Thomas Hearns on April 15, 1985. Known as The War, this fight with 8-ounce gloves was an explosive contest that ended in a third-round knockout. The smaller gloves added to the ferocity and intensity, making it one of the greatest fights in boxing history. Another example is the Mayweather-McGregor fight on August 26, 2017. They agreed to use 8-ounce gloves, adding a layer of excitement and unpredictability that contributed to the high stakes and drama of the event. And that's not all. Tyson also introduced another game-changing rule, extending the round duration from 3 minutes to 5 minutes. This shift fundamentally changes the demands on both fighters, putting a premium on stamina, endurance, and strategic planning. In pro boxing, 3-minute rounds allow for high-paced action with short recovery breaks. But 5-minute rounds? That means fighters have to sustain their energy and focus for a longer time, which gets really tough as the fight goes on. For Tyson, this rule leverages his historical endurance and ability to maintain power over extended periods. Throughout his career, Tyson has shown incredible conditioning and the ability to deliver powerful punches even in later rounds. This extended round duration gives him more time to wear down his opponent and exploit any openings. Tyson's training has always emphasized stamina and resilience, which will be a critical advantage with these new rules. But for Jake Paul, the longer rounds will be a massive test. While Paul's boxing skills have improved, shifting to 5-minute rounds demands a different level of conditioning. The longer rounds will test his ability to pace himself, manage his energy, and maintain focus under continuous pressure. He'll need a more strategic approach, balancing aggression with the need to conserve energy for the later stages of each round and the fight overall. And then there's another rule that's making everyone's jaws drop: the knockout-only victory rule. It's exactly what it sounds like. The fight can only be won by a knockout. No points, no judges, no scorecards. Just one guy hitting the mat. This is all about power and finishing ability, and it sets the stage for a no-nonsense, explosive ending. This rule puts the ultimate test of a fighter's prowess right in the spotlight. A knockout isn't just about power, it's about precision, timing, and seizing the moment. The knockout-only rule means both Tyson and Paul have to aim for a definitive end, pushing them to their physical and mental limits. For Tyson, this is a dream come true. He's a knockout artist, and his career is filled with devastating finishes. This rule aligns perfectly with his style, making him an even more dangerous opponent. The psychological pressure on Jake Paul is through the roof. This guy loves to talk big, but now he has to back it up with a real knockout. No more skating by technical knockouts or hoping to win on points. He's got to deliver a decisive blow. This rule adds a whole new level of intensity to his preparation and performance. People have been questioning whether Jake can land a true, clean knockout, and now he has to prove it with the world watching. But that's not all. Tyson also introduced strict random drug testing protocols for this match, announced the same day as the knockout-only rule. These tests are designed to ensure a clean and fair fight, catching any use of performance-enhancing drugs. This measure is crucial to maintaining boxing's reputation. For Jake Paul, known for his intense fitness regime and controversial persona, these drug tests are both a challenge and an opportunity. Paul's dedication to fitness is well known, but his unconventional rise in boxing has attracted scrutiny and skepticism. These drug testing protocols will either silence his critics or expose any potential flaws. By agreeing to these tests, Paul shows his commitment to clean sportsmanship and his desire to prove himself as a legitimate professional boxer.